Well, I was right. Ladies and gentlemen, Moses Itaumas absolutely destroyed Jermaine Franklin in 5 rounds. And if you look at my last video where I gave my prediction, just saying, I got it spot on. Now, even though I did predict that Moses would stop Jermaine, I didn't expect it to be quite as vicious and as nasty as it was. Because we have to remember, right, this wasn't like a old shot to bits Jermaine Franklin. Jermaine's still a youngish guy. He's never been stopped. Never mind never been stopped. He's never been dropped by anyone, and he's taken some big punches. He's been in there with Anthony Joshua. He's been in there with Dillian White, and they couldn't put a dent in him. It went 12 rounds of both of them, and Jermaine caused them a lot of problems. You know, he arguably beat Dillian White, and AJ, who did beat him, caused him a lot of issues. Moses goes in there, wins every round convincingly, drops him in the 3rd, and delivers one of the most brutal uppercuts I've ever seen in my life on Jermaine Franklin. And he was out of it. He was gone, night, flat on his face. Anyone who had any doubts about whether Moses is the real deal or not, surely those doubts have been put to bed by now. Yeah, we didn't see him go as many rounds as we'd maybe like to have seen him gone, but come on, he just stopped a guy who's never been stopped. The guy's never even really been that hurt in a fight. And Moses made it look easy. This wasn't even competitive. This was a whitewash, a clean sweep for Moses, right up until that knockout. So let's go back to the beginning of the fight, right? Moses, he comes out, and the hand speed, oh my god, have we ever seen a heavyweight with that frame and that build move like that? His hand speed was probably even quicker than when we last saw him, and it was quick then. He, without a doubt, has the quickest hands in the division. The feints, that's something that, not to compare them, because I don't think right now it's that fair, that's something that Usyk, the #1 heavyweight in the world right now, does a hell of a lot, and we've seen what issues Usyk has caused people. But Moses is even quicker than Usyk. The footwork was great. We did see a bit of Moses's youth and inexperience come out when at the end of the 1st round he goes back to the corner and he says to his coach Ben Davison the pace was a bit too high, and to be fair, he did come out all guns a-blazing. He obviously wanted a statement knockout in the 1st round, and he was breathing pretty heavily in the corner, open mouth breathing, puffing and puffing. But he showed a lot of maturity in realising that, and goes out in the 2nd round, slows the pace down a bit, still lightning fast, but you know, slower for Moses's standards, and just boxes the head off. You know, every time Jermaine Franklin would try and throw, Moses was straight in with a counter over the top or to the body. Jermaine was clearly getting frustrated with it, just the hand speed, he just could not keep up with it, and the foot speed as well. Jermaine really looked like how he looked in his last fight against Ivan Ditchko. I have now found out how you pronounce his name. It's Ditchko. He was quite slow again. He was quite sloppy again. Kind of what I expected, really, because, you know, you're only as good as your last fight. And I think when we saw Jermaine at the weigh-in, when he'd clearly come in much too heavy for what he should be, I said in my last video it was a foregone conclusion, in my opinion, that Moses would beat Jermaine. But seeing them at the weigh-in and seeing the weights and how they both looked just cemented that further. And again, I was spot on. I said Moses would knock Jermaine out in 5 or 6 rounds, and in the 5th round, bang. And he could have even done it earlier. In the 3rd round, he knocked Jermaine Franklin down. First person to ever knock Jermaine down. And if that round had gone on maybe a minute longer, I think Moses would have got him out of there in the 3rd. But, you know, it's fine. We got a few extra rounds out of him, which we want to see. Obviously, we want to see him go more than 5 rounds. We still don't 100% know about his gas tank, and we still don't really know about his chin. Jermaine did catch him with a good one, I want to say in round 3, to be fair. And Moses just kind of smiled and shook it off. But Jermaine is not the hardest hitting heavyweight in the division by any means, so we still don't really know about the chin, we still don't really know about the gas tank, but we'll get those answers as Moses has more fights. But I do think we can quite clearly say Moses is not being overhyped. Moses is the real deal. Moses is a special fighter. There is no other heavyweight in the world right now like Moses, and even if you go back through the history of heavyweights, there's very few like Moses. Call me out in the comments if I'm being ridiculous saying this. I think by the time Moses is retired, in 15, potentially 20 years from now, I think we will be looking at Moses as one of the greatest of all time. Like we're looking at Usyk right now. That is how special this guy is. I may be a bit biased. I am a massive Moses fan. He's just under a year older than me, so it's nice to see someone my age doing so well in this sport. But I really think that when Moses is all done, which like I said is in 15 to 20 years from now, the guy's 21 years old, we will be looking back saying this is one of the greatest of all time. That is how good Moses is. And I definitely think by the end of this year, early next year, he will have a world title. And if he doesn't, that will not be because of his ability or because he's lost someone. That will purely be boxing politics. But if boxing does its thing in the right way, which, you know, sometimes it doesn't, but if it does, Moses will have a belt end of this year, early next year latest. Quick word on the rest of the card. It was a really good event. I really enjoyed this card. That Brad Paul's Shaquille Thompson fight, oh my god, that stoppage. Shaquille Thompson was outboxing Brad Paul's pretty much every single round, and then out of nowhere Brad Paul comes in with that massive shot and it was lights out. And then quickly on Ezra Taylor and Willie Hutchinson, that kind of went how I think a lot of people thought it would go. The build up to that was really entertaining. I remember seeing a comment on a YouTube video saying that they're kind of like a mini version of Fury and Joshua, just in how they talk to each other. And they really are, but that fight went pretty much how I think a lot of people thought. Willie's experience was just far too much for Ezra. And Ezra did great. Ezra is a great fighter, but Willie just had too much and just outboxed him for the majority of the fight. Yeah, that's my thoughts on Moses Itauma and the Magnificent Seven show in Manchester that took place on Saturday. Let me know you guys' thoughts on this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.